Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cool Conversations with Consciouspreneurs. My name is Paula Robbins. I am the founder of Consciouspreneurs International, and I'm kind of excited to be here today with Miss Dawna Campbell. So, Dawna and I share a little bit in common. We both come from corporate America, kind of got that big, clear message that this isn't the right path, and we changed careers, moving into more of a career as a healer. And Dawna is known as the mind whisperer. She uses a modality and technique called thought form energy healing. And I'm excited to share she just recently published her first book called Financially Fit. So she comes with a degree in both finance and marketing. And with that background and healer gifts and intuitive nature and the ability to really see what's going on with the mind and shift behind it, we've got quite a guest here today. So welcome, Dawna. I'm so pleased to have you. Thank you for making the time.
And thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
You bet. You bet. So, anytime I talk to somebody who has shifted out of corporate America, I'm always kind of curious to hear their story too, because mine had so much synchronicity to it. Mm-hmm. So tell us your story, first of all. What happened in that duration? I mean, you spent a lot of time and money on education. And 10 years in a role, and then it said, no, it's time to be a healer.
Absolutely. I was a financial advisor and a managing principal for an investment firm. And for that career, I traded my health for it. And I got to the point that I was not able to digest food for about 2 years, where the medical community could not figure out what was wrong. And I maxed out my insurance for those years. And over time, I went to a naturopathic doctor who practiced a form of Chinese energy medicine. I really didn't have a solid background in this, but what happened for me was she gave me some enzymes so I could digest food. And then over the next 3 or 4 months, my body was repairing. And I remember sitting in her office one day and she said to me, Dawna, the stomach is about not digesting food. And there was something in your life you weren't able to digest. And I said, I know what it is. And she goes, what? And I said, the infidelity in my marriage and the anger that I was absorbing. So I also had that whole component going on together too. So I chose to move on with my life and not live in that situation. So I had those two things, the health aspect and the relationship aspect that I was not able to see, or I was blind to see. And after that, my natural healing abilities came back full force from when I was a child because I had suppressed them and decided to make my life changes. So I realized what those things had in common were me. So I went and lived in an ashram for a year, which is a spiritual living community, to figure out all the different components and how to make these changes.
Wonderful. What a cool journey too. And so you've been doing this for about 10 or 11 years now. And if you would tell those that are watching or listening a little more about what it is that you do, what is a mind whisperer? What is thought form energy healing? Tell us more.
We have over 60,000 thoughts a day. And you're only aware of about maybe 10% of them, which means the other 90% of those thoughts are deeply hidden in the subconscious. Well, the law of attraction says your thought creates your reality. Well, when I was going through all of what I went through, yes, I remember some of my thoughts, but I didn't understand how those thoughts were creating in my life. And it wasn't the thought underneath it. It was more of the energy, which is the emotion or the emotion or feeling under it, which was giving the thought fuel, because that's what the universe was reading. And it wasn't that the thought, say I had a belief of, not enough. It wasn't the belief of that. It was how I felt about that belief that the universe returned to me. And what I discovered through that was that the energy is what is creating our reality, not necessarily the thought. And through a medicine woman, I realized that you can go in and shift and change the energy in the moment, even going backwards in time, because all frequency in those moments exists. And if you're in frustration, you're only stuck in the subconscious of seeing that situation from the viewpoint of frustration. But if we shift and changed it to what it was that you needed, maybe you needed to be loved and nurtured and held and appreciated in that moment instead of appreciated or instead of frustrated, then we have the ability to change that frequency in the moment. And that's the skill set that a medicine woman taught me, which I call pivot and shift. And that's really the heart of mind whispering, starting with the conscious thought to find the thought behind the thought behind the thought, to uncover the emotional feeling pattern that got stuck in the subconscious that created this pattern throughout our life. And we can go back to that moment and change it through vibrational frequency. And then from that moment, everything else in your life changes, and it affects your health, your wealth, and your relationships. It's all interconnected.
Beautiful. So 10 years later, 11 years later, what can you say about your own journey? What has been the greatest shift for you from then to now?
Instant thought creation was going to be my greatest shift, because what I do for my clients, I have done for myself over the years. I was my own first client. When I left the spiritual living community, the ashram, it was during the global recession and I was unemployable. Even though I had 7 security licenses underneath me, nobody was hired in that field. And I remember making a promise saying, keep me and my children safe, keep all of these things going. I'll dedicate my life to healing, because obviously everybody needs this, because we're not meant to live in a life of depression and anxiety and loneliness. We're supposed to live in happiness, prosperity, and love. And making that decision, wow, everything flipped in my life. And then I started uncovering this process and then using it with myself. So because those lower energies, those frequencies of anger and frustration and depression, those aren't there anymore. It's not what's fueling my thoughts. It really is the joy and the happiness, and it's a lot more conscious on my part today. But those are the energies that come in. And when that happens, you can hold a thought and have it create almost instantaneously. To give you a quick example, I'm also an author in The One Habit to Thrive in a Post-COVID World. And I remember when I got the proof back and I went, oh, I'm chapter 30. And because I look at numerology and numbers and frequency and vibration, which is my life, I went, well, I guess 3, that's joy and happiness. That should be good. A little bit of spirit. I'd really like to have a cooler number, though. Let's have a cooler number. And I didn't say anything else, but I accepted chapter 30. Well, when my book arrived, I looked in it and I was not chapter 30. I flipped through the whole book and I couldn't figure out where I was. So I found myself in the table of contents and I was chapter 33. And in numerology, 33 is a master number. And I went, that was the number I really wanted. I didn't say anything to anybody. I didn't mention it. I never got back another proof. And I didn't know until the book arrived. The universe took care of it because it was instant, because I was in the right frame of mind with the right energy 100% of the time. And it returned exactly what I wanted.
That's so cool. Those are my favorite stories. The synchronicities where the universe just aligns things literally for us. So that's beautiful. Very, very cool.
Many stories like that.
Say that again.
Oh, there are just many stories like that, not just for me, but also for clients.
Yes, me too. Me too. I have many of my own and many stories that I love to share of how people have gone through the same kind of shifts working with the subconscious. I'm a hypnotherapist, so we have a very similar mindset of understanding how the subconscious really runs the mind. And if you heal the wounds underneath, some of the programs that you'd like to change, guess what? So much can rain upon you that is so good.
Absolutely. That's the map.
I love it. I love it. So share with us a little bit then about some of the people you've worked with. What are some of your success stories with some of the people? And I know with your book being financially fit, you've worked with abundance, always a big, big topic with consciouspreneurs. So give us a story or two about how you've helped some people kind of shift out of that either unworthy or abundance blocks or, vows of poverty, if you will, into, yes, here I am receiving in the vortex.
Right. Absolutely. Because it affects health, wealth, and relationships, they're all interconnected. So when you make a shift and change in one area, the other areas will shift and change too. And oftentimes, when you work with a client, whether you even start with the topic of wealth, abundance, and prosperity, within that same hour, you've touched on their health and you've touched on their relationships. You can't
Right.
separate them. So even in Financially Fit, there's a section in there where it talks about relationships. There's a section in there and how it talks a little bit about the health, because abundance is all things, it's all areas, not just financial money. But to share with you a couple of examples, one of my clients came to me and he had three different construction companies. Two companies were doing okay, but one, his first one, was really near bankruptcy. And he didn't want to go through that process of bankruptcy. It would have affected the other two companies because they were all interconnected, and wanted to know what to do. And he said, I just really want to be happy. I just want to return back to the lifestyle that I really created and that I wanted. I don't know why my business is failing and what's happened. Well, when we started uncovering some of his patterns, we realized that when he was about 7, his father had taken him to the counter at a store to purchase an item for him. And his father handed over the credit card, and the credit card was declined. And his father did not have another way to pay for the item that he was receiving. So he, of course, left disappointed. His happiness was stolen from him. He really wanted it. There was no money. It didn't come through. And then that was when we started the encoding process, or recoding, that his happiness wasn't outside of him. It was inside of him, and how to shift and change that perspective. It changed inside of him. Here we are, 4 months later, his company is turning around and it's no longer getting near bankruptcy. It's starting to go back into the profitability, and his other two companies are starting to step up and flourish as well by changing that one pattern, that where it got stuck initially, because he was recreating what his father had created and shown him, but he didn't know, but his subconscious recorded it and it got stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. It does. It creates like an imprint that
Mhm.
can really get stuck. I get it. Very well. Very well. So, as far as doing this work now
Mhm.
for a long duration,
Mhm.
you've worked with a lot of different individuals, and you have now had your own business as a consciouspreneur for 10 years.
Uh-huh.
What is a specific practice, tip, tool that you'd like to share with the listeners to support them on their journey going forward? Whether they're, someone who could be a potential client, somebody who's going to purchase your book, a consciouspreneur, what's a practice or a tip that you would like to offer?
First, I would like to say that because we're people and we create businesses, the business runs off of the energy that you are in and absorbs it, because you have a direct relationship to that. So if you're in a state of constant stress and worry and pressure, your business is going to be in a constant state of stress, worry, and pressure. And to shift and change that about the business, we have to shift and change what's inside of you. So, the number one strategy that I can share with you that you can do just on a surface level is what the medicine woman taught me, which was pivot and shift. She taught me that in a physical room, if you didn't like the energy of what was going on, you can change your physical position and it will shift the energy going around. So you could get up and get a glass of water. You could wash your hands. You could leave your room. You could change your position. And it would shift the energy because you're moving. And every time there's physical movement, there's physical energy shifts. I took that same concept and applied it to emotions, because in every moment, every frequency exists. So when you recognize that you're in stress, worry, frustration, pressure, then you can shift it to whatever the opposite is. It's that conscious awareness. And then when you realize, what's the opposite of stress for me? What's the opposite of worry for me? What is the opposite of feeling this pressure?
Yeah.
And then you can shift it in your mind to that. And it's a surface level of doing it. It's very, very conscious. It's not getting to the root of the issue or the problem, that deep, deep 90% of it, but it will start shifting you out of what you were to where you want to be. And then start looking at seeing, well, what do I need to have? Say it was happiness and joy. What do I need to have happiness and joy? What brings me happiness and joy? And you can start mentally going through that process. Or we could do like a type of session and just release it and have it automatically happen in the 90% that just runs everything for you without the conscious.
I love it. I love it. And as a consciouspreneur, consciouspreneur to consciouspreneur, what is a piece of advice you would offer in the business realm to other people who walk our same walk? We have a mind of consciousness and of spirit and of healing and of community, and we have a business.
Right.
What is a piece of business advice you could offer?
Wow. There's so much thinking going through my head. The first thing that I would say is follow what is in your own heart, because that is right for you. And you can go and get information from all kinds of people, seek their opinions, but it's not necessarily what it is that you want to do. And if it goes against it, it's not going to work for you. So follow truly what's in your heart and what's in your passion, because that is what's going to bring back, and that's what's going to infuse your business with it.
That's been my experience too, especially in this last couple of years in managing and running consciouspreneurs, really understanding that I can learn so much, but every time it comes back to what feels resonant and right here.
Yes.
What's right here? That's what I need to do. And when I do that, everything flows so much better.
Mm-hmm. It does.
Wonderful. Gosh. Well, so wonderful to have you. Thank you so much for making this time. I will add both your websites to this interview. It'll be posted. We have DawnaCampbell.com and FinanciallyFitBook.com. Congratulations on the new book. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us as far as how to find you or what you're offering, anything like that, so that people know how to get in contact?
The two main ways are just my website, DawnaCampbell.com, FinanciallyFitBook.com. And if you are a person who loves social media instead, I am on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn under Dawna Campbell. So you can just message there as well.
Great. Well, such a pleasure. Thank you so much. I'm excited to have connected. I'm excited to, be on the same page. I've been really tooting the horn about frequency and energy and how much it really makes a difference in our everyday and in our life. So it was so exciting to have the chance to just get to speak with you, even briefly, to share your message and your story and what you're doing out there. So thank you for all that you are and that you're contributing to the greater good.
Thank you so much. It was amazing to be here and to share.
Thank you.